Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Whiskey Tuesday. I wish it was Wednesday just so I could say Whiskey Wednesday, but we're going to pretend it's Wednesday, and even though it's Tuesday. So anyway, thanks, everybody. Appreciate everybody for joining tonight. So I think I feel like we're back with another therapy session like we were, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but anyway, it just seems like, and kind of what prompted me into, I guess, another, I'm going to say like just open forum or kind of open dialogue or whatever you want to kind of refer to it as. There was just, there just seems to be like a lot of things that are kind of going on within the whiskey industry, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And the fun part I think about tonight will be also trying to, I guess, kind of get everyone's thoughts or feedbacks or opinions on also where you guys kind of see the whiskey industry at this point. And for me, it doesn't seem like it's ever been in more flux than it is now. So that's kind of the issue tonight, was just to kind of, I guess, kind of talk and, maybe I can give my perspective and kind of go over a few things, but more importantly, wanting to hear from you guys, and ladies. I know a lot of you are the ones doing all the buying and are super active in, lots of different, either other groups or just other communities. And I just wanted to kind of hear also from each of you as to what some of the, again, good, bad, and different things are that you're seeing kind of going on in the whiskey industry. And for me, I guess kind of what I was hoping to not see was, this kind of seemed to affect the community as a whole. And over the past kind of few days, I've kind of seen and talked to some people who are, I guess I'll say, I don't want to say like upset, but they are concerned with where things are, within the industry at this point, and may get to the point where they just no longer have the interest because of all of the kind of extra things that are kind of going on within the industry. And I guess I'll start out with, I guess, this question to you guys is, the way we see this community and the whiskey community specifically, do we see or feel like what is going on from a lot of the distilleries and kind of all of that trickle down affecting you within the community from a buying standpoint, being as involved in the community, buying as many bottles, things along those lines? So, I guess I'll pose that question to each of you, and we can kind of go from there. And that's the one thing I'm hoping does not really affect all of this as much as I feel that it is or is going to. And the more people that start to pull back and go away and don't have that kind of communication or relationships with people, in my opinion, I mean, that's a bad thing. And I don't know if part of that has been created just overall by the industry, but it's one of those things. So I'm hoping that stuff doesn't kind of affect where we are within this kind of community. But while you kind of digest all of that, let me say hi to a few people that were in here right away. Kitty, of course. Let's see who we got. Mr. Marty Whiskey Nose. Cheers, buddy. Top Dog Johnny, good to see you. Mary, good to see you as well. I met Mary, let's see, was it maybe not last weekend? Must have been the weekend before, down at Whiskey Acres in Illinois. So cheers, Mary. Mark and Kim Schwartz, love me the Schwartzes. Thanks for joining. Truman, my buddy from the Pacific Northwest, good to see you, brother. Let's see. Yeah, and tonight I'll be doing a Patreon live later. We'll be talking about a lot of other things. Mr. Joey B, good to see you, brother. as always. Paulie P, good to see you as well. My the Scott Van Pelt doppelganger. So good to see you, brother, as always. Mr. Dustin Pichelle, good to see you, D. TK, good to see you. I don't know if you've got I don't know if you got the phone propped up in the combine while you're plowing some fields or whatever it is you're doing, but thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. So what do we JG, the ball buster himself. Always good to see JG, my buddy. Timmy G, good to see you, Tim. Thanks for jumping in. Mr. Wait, good to see you as well. What else we got? Mr. James Lay, my buddy in Georgia. Ben Draman, good to see you, Benny. DMC, good to see you, buddy. Prescription Bourbon. What else we got here? I already said Mr. Walt is in here. Steve's in here. Bird's Eye Bourbon. If you guys haven't checked him out, I'll tell you what. He is kind of killing on the gram. So you're going to have to check him out. So Bird's Eye Bourbon, just as it is right there, YouTube as well. So glad to see him doing his thing. And he's a refreshing, person to see doing all these things, energetic, all of that stuff. So I love to see that. So give him a follow, subscribe, all those good things. So what else we got here? Randy, my man, good to see you, bud. Sorry you won't be able to make it on Friday, but understandable as well. So, yeah, I'm gonna do the was dollar. Yeah, exactly. $1.50 back in my day. Exactly. What's up, Peter? Good to see you, buddy. Robbie D, been a while, man. Good to see you, buddy. Mr. Reese, good to see you, bud. Thanks for joining tonight. Gandhi, good to see you as well. All right, what do you got for me here, bud? Cheers, brother Scott. Thanks for the great picks and all the support. You got it, man. Absolutely. Appreciate the support from you as well. What else we got here? All right, let's do this. All right, Mr. Jenkins, good to see you, bud. And yeah, so like I had mentioned before, so that's the biggest thing for me is kind of where things are. So John kind of said, I find myself passing on a lot of bottles in the store lately, trying to stick to whiskey community picks and also getting overwhelmed with the amount that's been coming out lately. And that can be a lot. And here's the thing, we are all inundated with bottles that are on the shelves, clubs, things along those lines. And it is one of those things where it can be awfully overwhelming. We've got to deal with now the quantity of bottles that are on the shelves. Depending on the amount of clubs you're in, you have to make the decision of what bottles you want to possibly pick up. Even though I see maybe that thinning out a little bit in 2025, obviously price is a huge factor, or maybe the leading factor in a lot of that. But again, overall, the glut of different new brands, things that are out there, can be awfully overwhelming and a little discouraging all at the same time, because oftentimes these smaller, newer brands have to come to market with these big prices, and we're unfortunately way too familiar with seeing a lot of these new brands come out with big prices. Now, if they don't, then I guess kudos to them. And I'll give even Dan and Sean, Bourbon Junkies, a little plug of Evernorth Spirits, is I think how they've kind of attacked the market from their side of things. They've done a great job of, I'll say, minimizing their price point. So whether their margin is not quite as big and then pass on some of the savings to us as the consumer, that's a big deal, rather than everything maybe being $200 or $150 that comes from a newer brand. They understand, they're coming at it from both sides. So that was kind of an interesting perspective to see how they kind of set up their kind of business model for how they were going to attack their picks and or their releases, things along those lines. So anyway, that was kind of an interesting perspective as well. But that was kind of one of the issues was I see that a lot of people get awfully frustrated. And trust us, we recognize that as running the club. We see really all of that. We see the numbers, we see the people, we see the comments, all of that. And we don't want it to ever get to the point where, it's too much, even though we're at a point right now where we've got a few things that are coming out that we don't want it to get to that point. But anyway, I digress a little bit. But just kind of going back to, again, the whiskey industry as a whole, I'd love to kind of hear your perspective on maybe give me in the comments, and I'll try to react to some of these, what your number one concern at this point is regarding, your issue or your main issue with how the whiskey industry is at, I guess I'll say, at this given time. So, all right. Paul was kind of, I think, commenting on John's stuff. I'm in a similar spot, and yeah, way too many picks out these days and get them all. Yeah, it is. We get that. And I don't know if that's going to change a little bit in 25, if some things will get scaled down, if there will be less single barrel picks. I know what we're going to try to do, as I don't want to say less, we're going to be, I'll say, a little bit more selective in terms of what that is that we do, so that we're not putting you guys in any kind of, uncomfortable spots. And we don't want any of that. And again, I understand that leads to, frustration within, group us in within the whiskey industry. I mean, that's part of what we do and what we are. But, we don't want to make that frustrating. The whole point was and is to have this as a community, and you guys want to not only support us but enjoy the whiskey and everything that kind of comes with that. So I was looking to see if there's any other ones. All right, what do you got, John? It's also tough to see a bottle that you pass on get talked about. Yeah, that's always a tough one as well. And again, in full transparency, we try as much as we can to let on to the bottles that we feel are, ones that you really should kind of pay a little bit more attention to, things along those lines. But let me, before I get too far, I agree. Evernorth is doing it right. I think they came out with a great kind of, business plan, and are attacking the market with as much of a consumer friendly price point on their whiskeys. So, what's up, Josh? Good to see you, bud. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's apparent from having some conversations with you, it does still seem to be that you're still getting into a fair amount of the glue sniffing. So they clearly haven't taken all your glue sniffing money from you. So what's up, Dustin? Good to see you, buddy. I mean, I'll take a free whiskey, but the industry looked great to me. Sales dropping, demand down. That's all. That'll be good for consumers. So, I mean, I think that's, I think you got a little bit of that. I mean, overall, look what MGP did. I mean, MGP just had to pull back a huge percentage on scaling in terms of what it is they're going to be producing. I think they're feeling it as much as anybody. Now, they're not always putting out big, huge things. And you're talking about one of the big boys in all of like whiskey production. So, they're feeling it. I think there are some things that are strong. I guess in my mind, I don't think it's quite as strong as it has. When you've got for maybe for us, it's a little bit better, but I don't know if we've felt it yet in the pocketbook that prices are down that significantly that it's making that much of a difference yet anyway. But we'll see, I guess. So. All right, James, what do you got? My current issue is quality versus quantity. Too many of the clubs or groups are just pushing quantity, and many of the picks that are quantity are now severely overpriced. There isn't a balance. Yeah, and I agree with that 100%. And I think that was kind of leading into what I said before was we'll be more selective. Not that I feel that we've ever put out anything that was quantity over quality. That's never the goal. I think everything that we try to do is always at least the best of what we can. And again, to I guess to kind of highlight that is our ability to say no or turn things down or just flat out pass on it. If our goal was just to continuously put out picks, we'd have even more stuff than we do. But we do say no. I know that's kind of hard to believe, but it is something that we do. So, all right, I'm gonna try to catch back up a little bit. So, all right, Peter, what do you got? I'm passing on many bottles. I used to hunt, price, space, lack thereof, and the fact often that those bottles are main factors. Almost never get backups. There's so much great whiskey out there. And again, I understand that as well. There are a lot of great whiskeys out there, and I think that's for us within this community and individually to kind of make that decision, as an individual. So agree with you 100%. All right, Rob, I'm happy with the industry. M&J picks are great and have always loyal following. There was some excess there with other groups. Yeah, and that's the thing, and here's the thing with the picks, it is there are a lot of other groups that do them. And I know there are a lot of people out there, including a lot of you in there, that try to support, us, them, as many as possible. And it can be very, very difficult, so it gets to the point where, we all, whoever it is we support, you have to be very selective in terms of what it is you are buying. So I don't know what we'll see in 2025, if there will be less picks, more. I don't know. Like it's hard to get kind of a read. I mean, we've talked to our distributors on things, and at the end of the day, the distributors do not want to sit on inventory. That's the thing. They don't mind us doing these picks, but if they sit there and no one's buying them, that's not something that they want. That's money that is basically being lost, and they're not in the game for just breaking even. So let's see. All right, what do you got? At the end of the day, you don't have to buy all. You have to be missing out or buy them. Yeah, it is a tough situation sometimes. So all right. So this is kind of an interesting perspective. So a word around whiskey world is IDL is going to cut U.S. prices to fall more in line with European pricing. Guess they found out the Americans have a limit for what we're willing to pay. That's where I think some of this stuff will slowly start to kind of become a little bit of an issue. So lots of different things. So, hey, Andrew, how's it going? Too many distilleries pushing out product that are too young, 6, 7, even 8-year product that just simply add some marketing flash and fancy tasting notes, and people are just getting fed up with the lackluster bottles. I completely get that as well. And again, I think that comes down to your preference to brands, what it is you're willing to spend money on, and things that you ultimately are just going to want to, pass on. So love getting some great barrels from the smaller brands because they're truly want their best stuff out there. Still Austin and Ben Holiday picks were my favorite bottles, period, this year. No issue. We had a great time doing those. And I always love doing things with brands like that as well. It is a lot of fun. So, all right. So I haven't bought a pick all year from any group. I also take a 5-month break from any booze since September. I bought 5 or 6 bottles. All right, so you bought some nice ones, but I get that being selective is a thing. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like, I don't notice prices down that much that it feels like it's some kind of fire sale or anything like that. I mean, to me, it still feels like, with every big release that's out there, it just comes out of the gate at a big price. And I guess, as an example, this guy right here, as good of 100 proof whiskey can be, is it $180 whiskey? Probably not. I mean, it's got some unique profiles, but is it $180 good? I don't know. I mean, that's, again, if you're willing to pay that, great. but it's probably not in line with what that is. Again, you're paying for a lot of that age. But again, remember, even going back a few years ago, we could buy Knob Creek 14, 15-year-old picks for 45 bucks. I know that's not the case anymore, but again, just it's where we are within this market. So when we're talking about prices being down, there's another one. The Bookers, that was a little bit better value. What was that? The reserves. The reserves was a nice one. So all right, I gotta skip ahead. I'm gonna be way behind. All right, so I hope I don't miss everybody, but yeah, I think that that's one of the things we hear all the time. I guess if we focus on price is what people feel they're getting. They don't want to feel like they're getting ripped off. And I feel like there's that most releases that are happening these days give people the feel or impression that they're somehow getting ripped off, that there's no value in what it is that they're buying. And again, just as an example, that old granddad, 16 year at $180 or whatever it was, or $200, I don't know, after tax or whatever. It's a tough pill to swallow. And when you're getting something like that and you just don't feel good about it, it's just not a great thing. But to me, it feels like every new release, and maybe even including a lot of the smaller, I'll say smaller, I don't even want to say less well known, but just a lot of these, not the big boys, are having to come to market with these big priced, whiskeys. And I think a lot of us anyway are savvy enough to kind of be a little bit more selective. I don't feel there are as many people that are, I guess, not so in tune with all of these new releases that willing to pay 180 or 200 bucks. I mean, the secondary market has, really kind of dried up, I'll say. I mean, you just see prices that have come way down on those. There's just not a very active market as there used to be. So I think a lot of people are feeling a lot of these different like frustrations, all of this stuff. So for me, it's it's a very kind of frustrating thing for me to kind of watch a lot of the things that I feel are becoming a negative perspective on the whiskey industry. Is that there to me feels like there's more negatives around all of this than there are positives. Going back a few years, the community felt very strong, a little bit more positive, all of those types of things. And it just feels a little less now than it did. And I keep trying to, put my finger on it as to what, is the key. But I think at the end of the day, it's all of kind of what that is in a nutshell that's making this all feel a little, kind of congested, so to speak. So, all right, what do you got, Paul? Completely unrelated to price and availability for me. I'm completely out of yeah, and that can be another thing too, is the amount of bottles that we all have. I mean, at some point it becomes excessive. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I don't need more. I mean, I'm gonna get more. I know that. It's just part of doing the whiskey club stuff and reviewing things. That just is what it is. But I end up having to honestly give a lot of stuff away just to kind of keep it somewhat manageable. So, word is once the auction dust settles, Mark Carter will once again own 51% of. Well, we'll get into that in a second, a little bit. So, anyone get a lower millennium? I don't think so. And again, that's probably one of those other ones. Hey, Keegs, how's it going, buddy? We'll see you on Friday. Let's see. All right, what do you got? Good news. Kentucky is sitting on the most 8-year-old caskets it's likely ever had, and certainly the most in decades as these young consumers choose weed over cheap bourbon. That stock will rise. All right. I don't know a lot about that industry to know whether it's eating into the bourbon market, and maybe it is. I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know like what to say. I have no idea. I don't hang out with a bunch of young guys that smoke weed. So not to say that you do, but I don't know anything about that market. So um what's up, Bobby? Good to see you, buddy. Let's see. Let me try to get a little bit. That's the thing. I think for a lot of these whiskeys, trying to get, you know, people together and do all these things. Again, it's time consuming for all of that stuff. You can't drink whiskey like you can beer, like in terms of quantities that fast, that kind of stuff, volume. So it makes it a little bit more difficult when you're just sitting around and you've got nice whiskey and you're sipping on it and you've barely made a dent in anything. So yeah, I mean, to me, that's probably what I would advise. I mean, it's a lot of money to spend on that. Like I thought maybe when I saw just the price and the proof and knowing what they were, I thought, maybe it'd be priced at 150. I thought maybe a little bit lower with it being Beam. And then yeah, I saw that thing at whatever it was, 185 or $190 or something. It was a little bit crazy. So all right, what else we got here? I think the whiskey industry is taking their consumers for granted. These bottle prices don't match up with the economy reality is. So that was going to be another question: Is has the distillery greed? Have they maybe been a little bit of the problem? Is wanting a little bit more of a cash grab and thinking that they can get all of these big prices because there were secondary market prices for so long that now it seems to all kind of be crashing down a little bit. Not, you still see everybody buying a lot of these still higher price things. I think it's a small percentage of bottles that people are willing to pay a lot of money for. Wild Turkey still seems to be one that, as things like those come out, people will still buy those a little bit. Obviously the Russells, 13, 15, things like that, people will buy. BTAC, people will continue to pay that money probably for things, even though nobody ever sees that stuff really at retail ever. So there's a select amount of things, but I also think, and I'm glad someone said that before, was I think the greed of the whiskey industry, I'm going to say the producers, marketers, all of that, who kind of fed into all of what we kind of see on the shelves now and what we consume, I think have really contributed a lot to where we are now. Just pushing out anything and their expectation of all of us just gobbling it up, and whether that wasn't supposed to be a pun or anything with the Wild Turkey stuff, but it's been like that with a lot of people over the last, I'm going to say, year and a half, maybe two, is just push out every expensive bottle you can, and we know people are going to buy it until there becomes the pushback, and really we've seen that. I'm going to say probably when we started getting into the end of 2023, and it's been all of 2024. And I'm sure as we start to kind of get into 2025, we'll kind of continue to see a little bit of that as well. I don't know. Maybe we continue to see this all the way through 2025 as well. In terms of us as the consumer pushing back and just saying, no, we're not willing to do that all the time. We're not willing to just buy every single bottle, that's there. So, all right, Jeff, thanks, buddy. Bourbon is luxury, not a necessity. The industry doesn't seem to get that. Yeah. And I think that's a big part of it, whether it's, again, the distilleries, liquor stores, all of these things that kind of play into all of that. So it's probably good that there is, I guess, in my opinion, a little bit of this pullback or correction within the industry. I don't think the bubble has burst by any means, and I don't think that, because if that was the case, there wouldn't be a lot of these big brands or a lot of other people. I shouldn't even say big, but a lot of just different brands um spending the money that they are, on building these distilleries, adding on to the distillery, adding restaurants. So clearly there is something out there that we as consumers are still funding the ability for these distilleries and other businesses to do the things that they're doing. So by no means has the bubble burst. I think we're just feeling a little bit of the correction and pushback on our side as to what it is we're willing and accepting, from these brands. So, yes, and let's say this. So, in honor of Veterans Day being yesterday, I guess I'll raise a glass. Hole. If you guys have something, raise your glass. Cheers to everybody, every man, woman, anybody who has sacrificed 1 second for us to be able to sit here and kind of complain about the luxury that we have, and the whiskey that we all have. We're fortunate that the men and women who have, some paying the ultimate sacrifice, and for anybody who's contributed, again, any second of time to service, cheers to all the men and women out there for all of your service. It's an amazing thing that men and women have done for an awful long time and continue to do for us to have the freedoms that we do. So we're a pretty spoiled country. There's no doubt about it. When you get outside of this country and see how other people live and how they have to live, us complaining about paying too much for whiskeys and having hundreds of bottles, it's you feel kind of bad doing it. But again, we live in a country that has, basically spoiled us, and we have to thank the men and women who have been a huge part of that, who allow us to have the freedoms and the abilities to do the things we do. So, all right, Nicholas, what do you got here? I never feel ripped off with M&J picks. I have too much floor whiskey and try to. Yeah, it could be. We get that. We don't want it to always be. I don't see us stopping like anytime soon. I'll say this: the last thing we want is to just inundate you with all the whiskey. Now, as I say that, there's a lot of things that are going on here, in the next, maybe month or two, that again, it will make you be selective in terms of what it is that you want. But again, it's your choice. You can choose what it is you want to buy or not, or share with people. So again, we appreciate every bit of support and the community that we've each built, not only individually, but as the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club. It really is a business on our side of what we do. It is a business, and we don't want anybody to ever feel that they're not getting something out of it. Again, your interpretation of what that is yours individually, but we want that to be there for you as far as whatever that option may be. So, all right. So this will be kind of interesting. And this kind of plays into, I think, our perspective on what it is we want, what we're willing to pay. So my local, I'm assuming store, my local got Coy Hill on Monday, not on allocation. I'm loyal to them for points. And they had 10 guys lined up on Monday at 9:30 a.m. when the truck showed up. That's my issue with whiskey. Yeah, and I think with stuff like that, I guess it'd be interesting to know, like those 10 guys, where they are within or what they I don't know. I mean, some of those guys may just be straight up flippers. And again, I don't know what their margin would be for it. I have no idea what they they then do, or if there are 10 guys that really wanted it, or 10 guys that are newer to the whiskey community, or whatever we all call this. It'd be interesting to see kind of that perspective on those things. But yeah, that is one thing for me too, like chasing after trucks or standing in lines. I'm way beyond that. If I miss out on something, honestly, I don't even care these days. I'll just go find something else or drink the picks that we have, and I am 100% content with that. So I got 3 Weller Millenniums. Of course you did. Of course you did. So um all right, what do you got, Dustin? Gen Z drinks the last of the generation. Wait, what is it? Gen Z drinks the last of any generation ever. It's the big concern for the alcohol industry in general, not just bourbon. Hmm, kind of an interesting perspective, I guess. Yeah, and that's always an issue too, is fighting those guys. I don't know what it is they make, or like if there's a huge margin, or if it becomes a volume game, or whatever that may be for these guys now. I have no idea, but yeah, it's always been frustrating dealing with those guys, is the people that look like, they're there and they have no interest in it. They don't even care to talk to anybody. They're just there for the bottle and they're gone, or whatever it is they're doing. But yeah, they've always been, kind of annoying to have to deal with, that they take the bottles that a lot of, us who really want to drink them and enjoy them don't get the opportunity to do so. And that can be a little bit frustrating, that's for sure. All right, let me speed up here. Hopefully I don't even know. Jay, I don't even know if I've got I don't even know if I've got any more of them. I'd have to check, but I'm always into negotiations if I've got something. I'll have to check and see. I haven't even looked in a while to see what I've got down there. But all right, what do we got? Distillers aren't the problem. They're in the business of making money, and they offer a wide range of price points and bottles. Yeah, and I get that. I mean, I think, you know there are some that have, again, the big prices, and some affordable ones. I just wonder if oftentimes, because there's a lot of great lesser expensive whiskeys that just sit on the shelves that nobody has to chase, that nobody wants. It's just these bigger, high priced, higher allocated bottles that everybody seems to want. And while you're passing up, good bottles like, whatever, it may be something from Bardstown Bourbon Company, or Knob Creek, or some Four Roses, or Old Forester, things like that. And those are semi affordable, while everybody still wants all of these kind of highly allocated things. And I get it. There's always going to be the fear of missing out on something, or wanting what you can't have. So what's up, Tom? Good to see you, buddy. All right. Let's see. What is the value of distributors in today's market, and how much do they, or can they, mark spirit up? Generally, I mean, from what we see, I mean, it looks like anywhere from about 20 to 30% is oftentimes what you see within the market. Again, the 3-tier system is, if you have a bottle for $100, that is like my price, and then it goes to the liquor store for, whatever. Another $50, and then the other people mark it up another $50. Now you've taken that $100 bottle, and it's now 200 or 225, and that's kind of what it is that you see. So by the time you've got all these kind of processes, this is what we see. So now let's talk a little bit about this. So I know a lot of us have seen and heard everything about like Old Forester, and that also, or not Old Forester, Old Carter. Got me thinking, a couple of years ago, we would have never have thought this, unless we knew that it was already like a sale to, whatever, just doesn't matter what it is. Could be, I don't even know, whatever, Stoli or somebody like that. It doesn't matter who it is, but somebody coming in with a boatload of money just to kind of soak up another brand to have under their umbrella. But I think, part of this sale, and again, there could be some particulars. I know Ritter kind of mentioned some stuff before, and I don't know a lot of the particulars, but just from the outside looking in, when you look at this, this feels like, again, we all know, Old Carter is more of a premium brand, more expensive bottles in that $300, ish range. And that market has really, really softened. And if a lot of those bottles are not only sitting, that means they're probably doing less, uh, blending. More barrels are sitting around, and all of that costs money. So when you get into all of that, and your forecast isn't necessarily the best, maybe looking forward, you get into this situation where there are sales that have to happen in order to either recoup. Now, I'm sure there's some other circumstances that are going on that are kind of feeding into, why this, sale is happening. So this could be a little bit of a not a great example of a sale. But again, I think if things were super strong, I don't know if you would see this kind of sale in today's, market. So that was my perspective when I first saw it. I was a little surprised, but not surprised, so that's kind of where I was with that. So I don't know if that's your perspective on something like this. And again, I think we all know a little bit of the circumstances behind, the brand and kind of what was going on with Mark and Sherry and all of that. But again, I'm sure that could have a huge involvement as to, why this sale is happening as well. But we'll see. I don't know all the particulars on or the details, but it just kind of sounds like an easy one. So 100%. All right. A lot of people, Josh, have been talking about that for years and years. So the middle guy gets his fee for just his cut, basically. I mean, they don't even hardly, I don't want to say do anything, but if you could just be a producer and go right to the next step, yeah, everybody would save a little bit money, a little more money to all that stuff. So exactly, definitely. um. Yeah, and again, this is always fun from a debate standpoint. Again, we can all have our opinions, but like Jeff was saying to Rob in terms of the distillery, says I respectfully disagree that there is no problem. I've been in the business for a while now, but it's not as much fun as it used to be. Not for me, at least. And again, I think everyone within this industry, somewhere along the way, feels this pinch. Like, and this is not peaches and cream. Like everything is not just great for everybody or just one group. Like, I think everyone is somehow feeling this, whether you're somebody that only sells expensive bottles or you sell expensive bottles and a $15 bottle of bourbon. I think there's a squeeze somewhere along the way. Like, there are a lot of people that are not buying something, maybe buying something. So like where one person is not buying something else, you have to sell a lot more of something else to make up for a loss in another area. So again, it can be a very, very difficult situation. And again, from my perspective, watching and listening and hearing, you feel a little bit of this pinch and this little, there's a little bit of that pushback, and you're seeing it from some distilleries, less production of bottles, Forgate, like, I hope they don't go away. I mean, I feel more passionate about, a lot of the people behind the brands than I do necessarily at times just the whiskey. I'm not saying it's not good, but from a personal standpoint, I don't want to see, Old Carter right here, be sold. I wouldn't want to see them necessarily go. Like Mark and Sherry, were great. They were great with the brand. I know things have not gone great, from a personal standpoint there. But with Foregate here, um, what they've got going on is, um, you know, again, it's tough when you're in that part of the market right now, so it's, again, Bill and Bobby, like you develop these relationships and you want to see these guys do great things and have great things happen, for them. So yeah, it's a little bit of a catch 22. So um Yeah, and I think and John, for me, like nowadays, it seems like it doesn't feel like it was 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago where you could have like that relationship with a guy at the store. It like now it feels like, and again, maybe there are people out there, and if you do, great, but everybody feels like they need to have a relationship with somebody at a liquor store in order to get something. The problem is the 5,000 guys and ladies who all feel like they have this great relationship with the liquor store. When they go for the 5 bottles, all 5,000 people, well, I'm being exaggerating, of course, but let's say it's 30 people now trying to get 5 bottles. So it's just a difficult thing, and it feels like that pinch or that squeeze is just as tight as it's been. So um trying to keep up with you guys here a little bit. And again, that was why I was saying I hope all of this doesn't get to the point where, it starts to affect, us within the community, is that there becomes less involvement, more pushback, things along those lines. Because I mean, there's a lot of people, a lot of great people I've met throughout the years, that some have, like, started to kind of pull back a little bit. You don't hear from some people, nearly as much anymore. And that's kind of a bummer. And you hope that it's not just because of how the industry is as a whole. But and again, it could be because a lot of us have too much whiskey. It's become expensive, it's time consuming, there's family things. I'm sure COVID had a big kind of a big deal on that when we were all sitting around doing nothing for almost 2 years. There was a lot of different things. So, for me, I'm really hoping that it's not going to like truly affect this whiskey community. And again, a lot of you guys and ladies, I talk to a lot of people, but yeah, there's a handful of people that I used to kind of chat with more than I do now. And for whatever reasons, I don't as much. But we'll see as things kind of continue to progress. But it will also be interesting to see what happens with the sale of Old Carter. I don't know if Ritter's in here or not anymore, but if anybody has any details or knows a little bit more about that or kind of what's going on, drop a comment. I'll try to find it or look for it in here if you guys or anybody knows more details on that, or if there's a sale price. Like I've heard anywhere from, I don't know, 7 million to like upwards of 20 million in terms of, like, I don't know if there's an asking price or like what the actual sale price will be, but I've heard some kind of rumblings on some of those numbers. But those are big numbers. So um yeah, this is annoying when you see all that. Like the people that are there, you see them and you know exactly what they're doing. So yeah, that's one of the things. It just seems that there are some people that are just I mean, I remember being in those like lines and everybody was always happy to be there and like it was a good time. And now, you see these guys and like people just stand there, no one says anything. They all look like they're angry at the world. And it just I don't know. There's just some things that like rub me the wrong way. And it's like when you start to not have fun with no matter what it is, the obvious reaction is to just pull back and it start to kind of go away. And that's one thing, at least with this industry and community, is this is a spirit that is very driven for community and sharing and getting together and doing all of that stuff. And that's a big part of it. And it's a big part of like, I guess how I am. I mean, I like to do those kinds of things. I like to interact with the community. I know it's not always, you know, doable all the time, but as much as I possibly can, I try to do, some of these things, so you just don't want to lose touch with that part of it. And you still want to have a good time and have fun and all of that. So that's that's one of the that's one of the things I really hope that doesn't ultimately, kind of get sacrificed or ultimately go away. So picked up two wild turkey 70ths at $60 a piece. Great bottle. I can't find a deal like that at Patreon picks. And again, we've got one that's coming here. This is our rye that Wayne was actually involved in. But yeah, it's gotten to be much more difficult in terms of deals. There is no doubt. There is no doubt about that. So again, we feel it, we see it, we know because we're seeing the pricing that we get from the distributor, and there's not much we can do. We're not in a great position for negotiating. We're not the ones that are handling a lot of that stuff. So it can be a difficult situation. We get into the game of trying to offer up as much variety, good variety, I'll say, as we can. And that's the thing. I'll say this kind of on our behalf is I think we pride ourselves on selection and at least the quality of the whiskey that you guys are getting for what selections we have to choose from. We're picky. I think when we get groups of people together, they're picky with things, and you want to make sure that it's right. There is no settling. We're not settling on anything. Again, if it's bad and we don't like it, we don't feel that the group is going to like it, we'll just simply walk away. It's as simple as that. And we've done it. We've done it several times. And that's the way it'll just continue to be. So as much as we do a lot of these picks, for us, it's never about the quantity. It's always about the best possible whiskey of what that is. Whether you can buy that one or buy each one or none of them, that again is up to you, but we want to be able to give you as much variety as possible. So let's see. Yeah, I don't know anything about that game, and so it'd be a hopeless beggar. I feel like some of this stuff it's gotten to be a little bit. So um all right, Papa, what do you got here? As long as we have these dorks spending stupid money, bottles just to flex the bourbon world will suck. Distilleries went corp. Too many and taking advantage of us. Higher prices for less quality. Yeah, and maybe that is part of it. I think all of that. I mean, I think anything that you guys say is valid. I mean, that's your opinion. So whatever that may be, that is all valid. So it's again, I just wanted to have a little bit of this conversation tonight to kind of see where we are. Like, I feel like all of us are all kind of on the same page. We all have little bits and pieces of what it is, we feel is affecting things, but again, there are a lot of things that are going on out there, within this whiskey industry that make people feel a certain way. So, okay, let me see here. I think we're on to the old Carter stuff now. Um, Yep, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think a lot of people, Warren, are kind of in that boat as well. So, all right, what do we got here? So, Mark wanted to keep the brand. Sherry said no, and the divorce judge said it must. Oh, okay. So, I'll be interested to see what. All right, so whether it's being sold or there's a percentage of the company that's being sold in order to buy her out, that could possibly be the case. So. Nice. This guy. They'll let anybody in these chats, won't they? I swear to God. My goodness. So, yeah, Drew doesn't even live too far from me. So I know there were some other things that were going on with him. And yeah, I think he just got to the point where he was maybe just done doing that stuff. And again, it's, as we all know, anybody who creates any content, it's time consuming. It takes a lot of work. There's a lot of things. And if you've got families, it can really eat into all of that. So there's it's a difficult thing. So, all right, Dustin, I figured you'd have some. Old Carter deal is silent auction, over 1,000 barrels of distillery and their buildings with rental income. I don't think 7 million cuts it. Okay, yeah, I just heard some like rumblings on stuff. So if that's the case, so if you're selling barrels, all right, so if you're selling barrels and their buildings with rental income, like, I guess, how do you keep a brand going? Now, I guess maybe they have a lot of other barrels, but when you start to sell off all of that stuff, I mean, that's really kind of diluting the company. Am I missing something? Um, I don't know. I try, Rob. I try. Um, I don't know. I don't know, Roman, man. That'd be a lot. That'd be a big old commitment. So I feel like I'd be just giving away too much whiskey in that deal. I'd feel bad always just charging everybody for everything. But cheers, Tom. What else we got? I think Whiskey Tube has begun to become a small part of the problem. And again, I can see some of it. Now, I'll say this. I mean, back from when I started, in, well, really kind of, well, since 2017 officially, but really kind of started dabbling with things a little bit more in 2016. Um, there wasn't a lot. Now you kind of look at YouTube and it's some other recommendation for somebody else. And again, do your thing. If that's what you want to do, great. But there's a lot of whiskey tube stuff out there these days. There is no doubt about it. So whether you consider it competition or whatever it is, there are a lot of people that are doing a lot of different whiskey content related things. So, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, the bourbon jerk. He's got something to say about that. Um, I didn't call no names. Let's see. All right, Tom, what do you got here? So I no longer chase. I browse the stores. If I find an interesting bottle and it's a good price, I'll get it. And I think a lot of people, I mean, that's kind of a lot of people echo, that as well. So, yeah, and a lot of this stuff is kind of what we've been hearing. I mean, I figured a lot of that was there. I just wasn't familiar with the particulars of what some of that stuff was. So, all right. So then I thought Ritter said something before that Mark would still somehow be the one holding 51% of the company. So if that's not the case, then yeah, he won't be holding anything unless there's some type of a buyback agreement or whatever it may be. But all right. So yeah, so I guess if that ultimately becomes the case, does the brand Old Carter remain what it is, or does somebody change that? So that'll be kind of interesting considering that was Mark Carter. I wonder if the name will still stand. I mean, I think it still holds, you know, um, a good reputation. I'll say. I mean, I think what Mark and Sherry, built and continued to try to build, it was it's I think it's a brand that has always been respected for the most part. So um well, that is a good one. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. So before I forget, so in about 30 minutes or maybe 20 minutes or so, whenever I'm wrapped up with this, I'll be doing a Patreon only live. We'll just be kind of catching up. If you are a patron of either myself or Jason, I know he dropped the link in his stuff before. If you guys have any of your most recent M&J picks, I brought a few up from downstairs. So if you guys want to share something, I'm happy to pour it and kind of drink along. So, and then I can kind of give you guys some updates on things coming that we're working on, and kind of what 2025 is kind of shaping up to look like as well. So, um, yeah, Ryan, I agree. I agree as well. I mean, I think there are probably a lot of great people behind a lot of these things, and I have noticed there are a lot more, men women kind of combos, and whether again it's one of these things where it's something that they do collectively as a family, then maybe that's part of what it is that they enjoy doing as well. So, for me, I'll say this: I always kind of treated the review side of things as a little bit of a business. So again, my style was always more of an approach of trying to provide people with the the nosing and tasting notes and what to expect from that whiskey. There's I don't have anything else that goes on. I don't have a wingman or wing woman or anything like that to work off of. So that was always my style, was just trying to do that as much as I could from a review standpoint. And that'll always just be, my style. Again, if you like it, great. If you don't, then that's fine too. There are a lot of other channels, out there to kind of watch, but again, like I feel oftentimes, and again, there is some entertainment value that others provide that I don't. And again, if part of it you want some entertainment and some funny things and all of that, again, there are other people that will do that. So that's not always my style. Now it's different. My review style and my personality are a little bit different, but it's my videos would be 30 minutes if I spent half the time doing nothing except trying to be funny and do all those other things. I think it'd be fun to do, but I don't think anybody wants to watch me for 30 minutes, even though some of you guys have been here for an hour, 5 minutes. So I appreciate it very much. But yeah, when it comes to reviews, anywhere from that 10, 12, 15 minutes is kind of what I shoot for. So all right, I'll get this thing wrapped up. But anyway, like I said, we'll be doing a Patreon only live, here in probably another 20 minutes or so, something like that. But um you came to the wrong show tonight, I'm gonna tell you that. So the other guy had no idea where the hell he went. But what else we got here? Let's see, what else do we hope? So anyway, I think that that in a nutshell was kind of what I was kind of hoping for tonight a little bit was, just to kind of get, that feel of, where this whiskey industry is, maybe where it's going. And I don't know. I still feel like at this point we're gonna feel a little bit of a pinch going, into the winter. And maybe, I don't know, maybe things start to change a little bit around spring. We'll see. I know there's oftentimes for anybody who lives where it's cold, as spring kind of begins to kind of, show up, there's a little bit more hope and people are a little bit more, joyful. I know things are always pretty good around the holidays for the most part, but as things get colder, people are doing less things, more stuff indoors, stuff along those lines. But again, maybe as spring starts to approach, maybe people will start to get a little bit more excited for things, see people more, talk to people a little bit more. So I don't know. I guess that's my optimism, from that standpoint. But yeah, I think just overall, in a nutshell, I think we're in a little bit of a whiskey pinch kind of feel. Yes, winter is coming. Understand the analogy there. So, but yes, winter for some of us, real winter for some of us is definitely coming and right around the corner. So, but anyway, guys, ladies, I appreciate you guys hanging out for here on another Tuesday night. You know, I don't know. I guess I can't say thank you enough for all the support, watching the videos, being part of the group, and really everything that it is. Whether this is a threat or a promise or what, I don't foresee myself going anywhere anytime soon. I still enjoy the community. I still enjoy whiskey. I still love to sit down and you know review a whiskey and everything that involves that review process, the community, the people, all of that. Kind of in a nutshell is ultimately what keeps me driven and kind of going forward. So with really all of that, I mean, I truly look forward to, meeting and seeing a lot of people, and when you don't get a chance to see people as much as you'd like, it's kind of a bummer. That's the downside to seeing a lot of people and chatting with people, like this is, we get to do these things, but not always get to see everybody in person. Now, again, that's why we try to do like one of these bigger events each year, is it allows a lot of people from around the country, to get together. So anyway, it's I don't know, I guess I'll say it's kind of my personality. So I mean, I enjoy being around people and talking, and obviously you can see the hands are flying and stuff. So it's one of those things. Trust me, my wife tells me all the time my hands fly too much, and I don't know, if I didn't have any hands, I don't know how I could be very expressive, that's for sure. But anyway, so thanks guys. I appreciate everybody for hanging out here on a Tuesday night. Pay attention here in a few minutes. I will, in Patreon, I already dropped the link. I know Jason did before as well. So probably in the next, maybe let's say 10 or 15 minutes, I'll be live on or doing a Patreon only live, and grab some M&J bottles. We'll share a few pours. We'll talk about some things that are going to be coming up here pretty soon, things we're working on, and kind of maybe what 2025 is looking like for the Mash and Dirty Whiskey Club. So with that being said, thanks guys for tuning in. I should be around next Tuesday. I know the following Tuesday I won't be able to do it, but I should be able to do another one on Tuesday. So looking to maybe try to do something a little bit more fun next week. And yeah, stay tuned. And again, appreciate everybody watching, tuning in tonight. And as always, it's about the journey and not the destination. For some of you, I'll see you in the next few minutes. For some, I'll see you guys next Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Appreciate it. We'll see you next Tuesday. Cheers, guys.